Oh, wow, guys, this was a big week or two for Hedera. Not a ton of headlines, but a lot of stuff at the infrastructure level. So from network upgrades to pricing updates, we've got about 7 headlines that we got to go through today. So let's just get going. All right, we'll just hop in here quick and take a look at the 6-month chart just to see where we're trading. Right now, 11.8 cents. If we kind of look at some levels, I don't usually do a lot of technical analysis on my crypto trades. I'm more of a macro trend guy, but let's just see if we can notice anything. We'll just go over here to this this kind of recent high over here just to see, draw some Fibonacci retracements. I mean, if we use that, we can see this 1.618. That's kind of a important level. Seems like we've been around 11 cents for a while. So short term, excuse me, we might bounce around between that 11 and 15 cents. It's really going to take something, above right here, above 15 cents to reclaim. Otherwise, it looks like we're going to be bouncing around. But like I said, I'm not a chart guy. I'm more of a macro guy. Read the news stories where it's going to be in 2030. But if you're trading this 11 to 15 cent range, don't get too excited unless we pop up above that 15 cents. So let's dig into the news stories that came out in the last couple weeks. Again, we're in the beginning of Jan 2026. So let's toggle over to that. First of all, network upgrades. Version 0.68 went live, and we've got version 0.69 they've announced is coming up ahead. So Hedera is in the middle of some consecutive mainnet upgrades as of late. Version 0.68 went live January 13th, which is today. And it focused on routine maintenance. Not a lot went out in there. Stability improvements and some developer tooling. We've got 0.69 though scheduled for January 21st. This one is the one that's more consequential. So they've announced that it's going to have, excuse me, improved EVM compatibility, which will be nice, better node performance. There's going to be approximately 40 minutes of planned downtime though. So if you're working on Hedera, be ready for that. The cadence signals network prioritizing operational reliability, and it's tightening up the Ethereum interoperability. So this is a big upgrade. We need it. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of downtime, but it's really nice. It's really nice to see the devs over at Hedera just continue to optimize and making the network better. Number 2, guys, Wyoming. They launched their first U.S. state stablecoin last week, FRNT, and on January 10th is when they launched that. So Hedera was actually selected as the primary settlement network alongside of Solana and Avalanche. So that's big news. That's real-world usage. That's a state choosing Hedera as infrastructure for the first ever issued state stablecoin. Big stamp of approval for Hedera. So why did they choose it, right? So according to some articles, it just reflects Hedera's positioning as a regulatory aligned enterprise grade ledger. So that is one of the big things that Hedera spent a lot of time on that we've discussed in a lot of videos is regulation. They're set up straight with the regulators. They're enterprise grade. They're acquiring customers. And I think we're going to really see price push later on. Not first, because it's not retail first, right? The price is still down around 11 cents. There's no hype. Retail's not piling into this. But Hedera is picking up big clients left and right, people using the network. So this is, if we want to put overall, what does this mean? It's probably one of the clearest public sector validations Hedera's had to date. The state of Wyoming using Hedera for their stablecoin. If that's not validation, I don't know what is. Okay, so the third story, guys. Hedera and their AI native tooling and enterprise partnerships. So they're continuing to push into AI infrastructure, and that's awesome because that's where a lot of the money is. So it's really good to see this push because they released a new Python SDK for the agent kit, right? So this will allow their AI agents to, and I'm going to read this off so I don't miss anything, make native on-chain payments, manage tokens, interact with Hedera services programmatically. So the Hedera Foundation's collaboration with Accenture and Equity Lab continues, right? Focused on AI audit trails using NVIDIA's Blackwell architecture. And we had a video on that we talked about a few weeks ago, where it was Hedera Intel and NVIDIA, the verifiable compute, and being integrated into AI. So this is just another thing that we see to show that, yes, they are continuing to build on this. They are working on it. And once it's completely implemented at scale, it could mean big things for the network. So again, this positions us, or Hedera, not us, I don't work there, as infrastructure for AI accountability. Right? It's going to create those audit trails. So it's not hype. Audit trails and logging is not something that retail loves. Right? It's like, yeah, Hedera, we got audit logs. No, but it's back-end infrastructure that is so necessary. It's so necessary for a chain to be able to do that people don't see it, and by the time they realize what's happening, they have to revalue it. So this is good. We're going to keep up on the NVIDIA partnership and the AI integration. All right, so the next thing, guys, market performance and institutional signals were abound the last couple weeks, right? So the price of Hedera, we're currently sitting at 11 to 12 cents. So we're down about 8% over the week, which a penny, right? When you're talking this tiny of a price on the token, 1 penny is a big percentage move. So we can't look at that number. So despite the short-term weakness in the charts in Hedera, it's widely viewed as a 2026 alt cycle candidate, largely due to the real-world application, the real-world tokenization, and they're getting these enterprise partners, starting with the state of Wyoming. Who's next, right? We're going to be reading the news to see who's next. Also, the Canary Capital proposed the HBAR ETF, right? It's still under discussion, and reports are suggesting now it will represent roughly 1.1% of circulating supply. So if we get that Canary ETF, we could see maybe a tight pinch on supply. 1.1% is not a lot, but hey, if Canary is the first, there's going to be more. So we'll also keep an eye on the ETF chatter around HBAR. Structural changes inside the ecosystem is kind of the overall title encompassing this next segment. I didn't have something specific for this one, but there was just a lot of different things that were announced that kind of fall into structural changes inside the Hedera ecosystem. So on January 5th, back 8 days ago, they announced an internal realignment. So the Hedera Foundation is consolidating core enterprise business development into Hashgraph, with the goal being simply engagement for enterprise partners. They want to engage these people. They want to get enterprises working on the Hashgraph. So now the foundation is going to focus on market efficiency, supporting existing grantees, Web3 infrastructure development. So this is going to be operational streamlining, not a governance shift, right? So I think that's good news. I think whenever these foundations or companies or whatever take a step back and look and work on the business and how to realign to better suit customers, it's always a good thing. So we're gonna keep an eye on that too. I mean, governance is a big deal. Governance is big. We saw with Zcash, right? Governance, when it goes wrong, right? When you lose support of your devs, bad things happen. 20% drop. The whole developer staff leaving, maybe even a hard fork coming for Zcash. So hopefully Hedera, they're out in front of this. They seem to be doing things right. But we'll keep an eye on it, because governance is probably one of the biggest risks right now where we're at with these altcoin cycles. Okay, we need people on the same page. We need a roadmap, and Hedera doing this seems like they're heading down the right path. We also saw the first pricing adjustment since 2019. So with the upcoming 0.69 upgrade, Hedera is going to implement a consensus service fee increase. First time since 2019, right? So the consensus submit message fee will rise from 0.0001 cents to 0.0008. And this is the first pricing change since 2019. Seems like tiny, but man, when we're talking fractions of pennies, going up 8x. Okay, still small, but 8x. It's pretty significant. So the intent is to improve the long-term network sustainability. People got to raise prices. It's going to ensure node operators are compensated as the enterprise throughput scales. Right? These people operating the nodes need to make money. So fee increases, you just got to do it. This suggests confidence in future volume rather than short-term demand concerns, right? So they're confident volume is going to increase, because if volume increases and node operators can't make money, who's going to validate the graph, right? The node operators need to be compensated for the service they're providing. So I think the fee increase, it's fine. It's good. It's needed. If we want to have an um, enterprise grade network, you got to pay the guys. Have to. There's also some events coming up that are really good for the Hedera ecosystem. We got a $1 million pledge announced by Hashgraph Ventures for the Hedera Africa Hackathon. Right, so the total commitments for that now exceed 2 million plus a $1 million prize pool. That's awesome. They're growing the network. They're growing the community. These things, well, it seems like, well, what are they doing that for? It's very good for the ecosystem and the community. They also announced a new council participation, right? Different tiers were introduced. There's strategic partners and community partners. This will allow non-voting collaboration without expanding the 39 node governance cap. Okay, so that's also good, right? Getting more people in there, even though they can't vote, they can still be part of it. And here's some upcoming events to keep track of. Sometimes it's fun to go stream these on Twitter or whatever. We got the Hedera Dev Day coming on February 17th, 2026. That is in Denver. Hedera Con 2026, May 4th. So guys, what we can take away from this activity in January so far: infrastructure first, not driven by narratives. They are building something that's going to scale and that's going to be enterprise ready. We got some network upgrades. They tune the economics so the node validators can get paid, which is good. Public sector adoption continuing to rise. AI native tooling, institutional alignment. So these are very slow moving signals, but they're the kind of signals that compound quietly. And they're the kind of things we need to keep up on if we are invested. If we got HBAR in our crypto bags, we need to keep up on what the underlying foundation and companies doing to to show that hopefully, yeah, this is why I'm holding this token. I believe what they're doing. I believe the news that just came out over the last 2-3 weeks aligns with my vision and my conviction of where I think it's going. So when we see this, these are all good things. It's a slow burn, but eventually Hedera is going to be a big player in this space. So hopefully this helps, guys. We'll bring back probably in a couple weeks with another update. Until then, HBAR is looking good. We'll see you next time.